Okay, remember that they're changing my voice. This video is about the wordplay involved in the trade war. Because there's a critical mass of people who admit that wordplay is real, it's not just conspiracy theorists, but people who just describe themselves as occultists, witches, new age people who are just interested in the history of language. They've all come together to form a critical mass on the internet when you tally them all up. So that makes it so it's logical for me to discuss this openly at this time. The word trade is a play on words for art, DE. Again, the E is a very critical part of wordplay. It comes up again and again. The E stands for evil and effeminate and masculine. In fact, the word game, right, wordplay, pile, game, is a play on words for mage and gay, and the second word me, and keep in mind, I am not gay. I hate explaining that wordplay, but it's so critical to all this. It's almost as if the person who made the wordplay for game anticipated that I'll be explaining it again and again and worried about being taken out of context, what have you. No, I'm not that worried because I put my faith in God. Okay, so there's that, right? The art DE. There's also the add art wordplay. Okay, and try, add, and tree add, and there's all kinds of wordplay there. In tariff, there's faux F rates. Rates faux F referring to the rates of people who get the attractive women, the rates of people dating, having sex, reproducing, what have you, right? The word rates and mates are connected, so there's all kinds of wordplay here because there's rhyme and reason, as well as interchangeable vowels. Vowel L, alpha, bet, consonant in the cons. If F rates, far fit Fs. Far refers to Horus, right? He who comes from afar. Har, another word for Horus, and far. And who's far away. There's all kinds of applications. You got to work the angles on this, right? The angels and the angles, the fallen angles, what have you. Let me just shoot through this wordplay here, and I'll explain some of it and wrap this up here. So there's F if rats. If frats, try faux F, try of Fs, tree of Fs, rot if F, if farts, like old farts and faux farts, fears, fit froze, for fits, for mind, body, soul, and spirit, what for, what have you. If F writes, R-I-T-E-S, if F writes, W-R-I-T-E-S. Rights is right and wrong, rots, so if F writes, if F rots, if F roots, if F forts, if F forest, if F for teas, if F rough teas, if F's true. So what basically it's saying is that if people continue to follow the New World Order, that they're going to rot. It's part of the rite, right? Ritual, like Rite Aid. It's not a coincidence. Pharmaceuticals, the root plate of the word pharmaceutical, hopefully you've heard this by now, is pharmakeia, meaning sorcery, witchcraft, and poisoning. So this video might be a bit confusing. You might think of it as a word salad or something, but it actually is sound. And I've explained it pretty well so far, with everything considered, because I have to explain how the word play breaks down, right? If, F, okay, rates. Okay, R-A-T-S can become R-A-T-E-S, with sounds applied. Okay, if frats is a huge part of it. So we get from the tariffs, if frats is a huge part of it. The trade, art, add. The reciprocal. See, Eri, pro, call. Eri is Haro Aries, Horus, the son of God. In Igbo mythology, the Igbo tribe is very central to the wordplay because juju, witchcraft, it comes from Africa, especially West Africans maintained a strong tie to witchcraft. It's mostly associated with West Africa. We're talking about juju, which are also the first letters in Jupiter and Juno, who are the Roman counterparts of Zeus and Hera. And it goes back to their countless deities of witchcraft, right? Circe, Hebe, Hecate, and in a sense, all their deities are witchcraft deities. Zeus changes form. Hera, it can be seen as a witch, and we go on and on about that. I don't know everything about Greek mythology, but I've looked into it quite a bit. So, and again, these deities, talk about the mother goddess and Gaia and all this stuff, and Asherah, Ashera, the Asherah poles in the Bible, the goddess, the queen of heaven in the Bible. Asherah is a play on words for Ashera. And there's tons and tons of proofs that I'm right. If you need more proof that I'm right, look at the proof for the wordplay for the human race. Ha-ram, nu-si, and ha-ram, noose. Look at the wordplay for position is poison is scrambled. Fume, F-U-me. Bread, be red. Trap is part scrambled. Okay, live is evil scrambled. I mean, the wordplay comes up again and again. They're called anagrams, but they're deliberately put there. And so it is with the wordplay with the word trade and reciprocal and tariffs and termination day, right? Terminator, right? Your souls are being terminated because they're obliterating the middle class. Who's paying for these tariffs? The middle class, right? And the lower class. They estimated that $6,500 a person. So it would cost, the average taxpayer $6,500 on average, right? And that, give or take, is the estimated $1 trillion in tax revenue or tariff revenue. I mean, they're taxes that is expected to be collected. So right now, the most common explanation I get in regards to what the expected outcome of these tariffs are is that it will be passed on to the consumer, and that people will lose their jobs at times because of the individual corporation situation, right? The kind of relationship they have with Canada or Mexico or the UK, what have you. So when we look at it from the point of view of the wordplay as it applies to your soul, so what happens to your soul, to your mind, body, soul, and spirit, when in the midst of all this crazy tax cuts for the rich talk, in the midst of all this madness, in the midst of all this inflation, in the midst of people refusing to rally and stand up for what's right because their cultures have been canceled on the left, their cultures have been canceled on the right, their cultures have been canceled in the middle. All the political parties and groupings work together to prevent the rise of uncontrolled opposition, with an emphasis on preventing a logical tax plan, a logical social, political, and economic plan. And it's not very hard to come up with them. I have many at this point. I have my $400 billion plan, my $500 billion plan, I have a $60 billion plan, all with affordable wealth taxes. Okay. I have my 7-point war on poverty plan. And these things all have many variations. All of them are much better plans than the current plan for the country or any plan you've heard from any politician. No offense to Bernie Sanders and them, why won't they come up with a sound and specific tax plan and tell people to rally for that specifically? Why won't people insist that they come up with one? It's not enough to say, hey, raise some wealth taxes for Social Security. There's homelessness, there's inflation. Obviously he does talk about Medicaid and Medicare, but there's a need for a massive food program. And there's a way to come up with a simple plan like I have with my 7-point war on poverty plan, my 5.4 trillion plan over 30 years. Very affordable wealth taxes. There's also a way to, amend the 4.5, I believe it is, wealth tax cut plan. Tax cuts for the wealthy at 4.5 trillion tax cut plan for the rich, right? There's a way to amend it to maybe 1 trillion and take the 3.5 and invest it into startup companies, into farming programs, into housing, okay, what have you, affordable housing. Now, they're making it harder for me to speak. You know how that goes. And it goes back to Babylon, baby line. So right now they're saying, F you me, because I'm not putting them, quote unquote, first. And they do not deserve to be put first. What it means to worship the devil is to follow other people other than me. Right? The word deal is lead scrambled. Marshall is marital scrambled. I, Christ, and the bridegroom. The word Christ had the word hit scrambled into it. Bethlehem, built he ham. Isaiah 11:5. Righteousness and faithfulness are built in sash. Psalm 19. The bridegroom and the champion are symbolized by the sun. And the bridegroom is Christ. The champion is Christ. The heavenly warrior defeats the beast. Revelation 19. What have you. So, what it means to worship the devil is to pretend someone other than the Royal African Falcon top martial artist is magically ideal. And I'm ideal in real life. Magic is a play on words for I'm cage. And first word I'm, second word of their wordplay gay, and the last letter C is for C. So you put that together. Again, I don't want to make it easy for them to try to pretend that I'm what I'm not, which is gay. And gay is a play on words for Y-A, Y alpha, G. And G, whether it's a G in Freemason or the G with an E after it, the Roman or earth deity, is another name for Gaia. Okay, and Satan said to be the god of this world, earth, worldly. The word earth is heart scrambled. Where's your heart? With God Almighty or with the world? Okay, with all that being said, let me end by saying two things. One, the wordplay for inflation. In-F-lation. In, people going in. Not people willing to die for God, but people who are trying to find their lives in the world. In-F-lation. So they're shunning the righteous, but they're also being shunned. The devil persecutes the righteous and the wicked. And when all is said and done, the wicked have regrets, and the righteous have faith in God and have lived a much better life than the wicked, because righteousness is greater than wealth and empty sex and so on and so forth. The second thing has to do with tariffs. I don't agree with the tariffs for one major reason. One, there's not a strong and logical justification for them. There's not a thorough analysis, right? So they didn't justify it with a thorough analysis. And to do an effective analysis, you want to discuss it with as many people as you can within reason. And in this case, they should have discussed it with the entire population. They should have discussed it. They should have taken polls. They should have really thought it through. So, for example, if I was to try to get somewhere on the freeway that's, we'll say, 100 miles away, and I started driving backwards on the freeway, is it working? Yes and no. Again, assuming that I have the option to drive forwards. So again, is it working? Yes and no. More no than yes. Why? Because the other option is better than the option that's being done. And so it is with supply side economics, trickle down economics. So it is with tariffs. What are the options here? When you consider them point by point, you see that the best option is wealth taxes. Not passing on the tax burden to the middle class and poor while giving the rich tax breaks. Because we also have the option to fund startup companies with just a fraction of the tax breaks that are being given to the rich. And poor people and middle class people would almost certainly support those startup companies. And those startup companies can be done by the wisest and the best. Brilliant minds that are older people in terms of brilliant economic minds. Okay, brilliant minds and older people in that sense. And recent college graduates who are brilliant and just itching for the opportunity to shine. Okay, so one of the tricks that the media tends to use is that they're not very specific. They say things like it will cost the average taxpayer $6,500. Over what, a year? They say things like Trump's side says that the tariffs will add $6 trillion or bring in $6 trillion. Over how long? And the New York Times said that the tariffs would cost the average American household $500 or $600. Again, over what period of time? And part of the problem is I can't click on these articles because I get hacked so much. The government is aware that I'm trying to tell the complete truth about these things to the best of my ability is what I've been doing. And so I get fumed, I get poisoned, I get harassed, I get targeted, I get blacklisted, and they hack and cyber attack my phone.